Hello, everyone. My name's James. Welcome to another episode of Correspondent Week, and I'm delighted to be joined by our Chelsea correspondent, Gary Mantle. How are you, Gary?
Hello, mate. Yeah, all good. Thank you very much. How are you?
Yes, well, thank you, mate. This feels like a very, very important podcast for the listeners and the viewers. But before we talk FPL, we do. Sorry. We have to talk about the managerial change because I told you all last August that Pochettino would get the Chelsea job. No one believed me.
No, and you said by the end of the season, so bit of work to be
So,
done because
so
it was the day
technically, I was
after it.
wrong.
That's right. Yeah, as Such pointed out as well. So
Are, are you
yeah,
happy with it?
I am. Yeah, really happy with it. I should also add that I became correspondent for Chelsea a year ago, and this is the fifth manager that we've had in the time that I've been correspondent.
That's some madness.
Yeah. So if you remember when Tuchel got sacked, and I was saying about how there's a lot of Chelsea fans who didn't really want Pochettino. Um, but that would have been the guy that's following Tuchel. By the time we appointed him, I think everyone's accepted this is the best that we could get. This is the way that the club is being structured with bringing in a lot of these young players. We can't then go and put in a manager like a Mourinho, like a Conte, like a Tuchel. We have to put in somebody like Pochettino. We also
Yeah.
can't go as far down as a Potter. I know that sounds insulting to him, but based on his sort of track record. He's got quite a good reputation within sort of the Premier League, but a lot of these players coming from outside, they don't know who he is. Maybe the methods don't come across. Pochettino, I think, has got the respect of the squad. I think there's a lot of players who have talked about how much of an influence he's had already in the short time that he's been there. So it's looking very positive at the moment, and I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, I think it's a really good appointment for you. I mean, it's important to say because I've said a lot of times that I thought it would be a big mistake for Tottenham to go back to him. That doesn't mean that I think it's a mistake for other clubs to appoint him. I just think the circumstance for Tottenham having been there before, it needed a clean break and something new. But yeah, when I heard towards the end of the season before Pochettino was appointed that you were going for Antonio Conte, it was like can't be surely. We went through this whole process where we discussed, all right, it's a longer term project, investing in youth players, and what you're going to give it back to Conte just to
Yeah, exactly.
what on the hope that you're going to win the league next year or something. So no, Pochettino from that perspective, it absolutely works. I think last season was also so bad that he'll be given time to implement things because one of the things I've said previously is I think, and it might be different because your fixtures are so good, but it took a long time at Tottenham for his methods to come through. Now you might be starting with more of a higher caliber of player, you like Thiago Silva, a very experienced James Chilwell, etc. But it did take a while before the Pochettino press and stuff never really came out till sort of like October, November. It took a while. And to be honest, the fixture list gives you the grace that it might not have to, and you might still do very well.
Hmm. Yeah, we look completely different in pre-season, which is obviously encouraging because if we didn't, then
It had to improve, surely, mate.
of course that's it. I mean, it didn't take much to improve it. In Potter's defence, he never got a pre-season with Chelsea. But we then, it's been said many times. One of the things that has been pointed out, Frank Lampard pointed out, Chilwell's talked about it, is the fitness, particularly towards the end of the season, where we were just nowhere near where the level that we needed to be. And Pochettino's worked really hard on that.
Yeah, he'll get that up.
Yeah, that's the key thing that he started with, and it's the baseline that you need if you're going to play his style. Um, Pretty much most teams in the Premier League are going to need that these days. And yeah, it was something that just never got sorted out. It sounds like something that Lampard's just using this as an excuse or whatever, but I think it was pretty obvious to be honest.
Is there any? Do you think there's any lingering for a maybe a minority, maybe even a majority of Chelsea fans that are ready to jump on this if it goes wrong because of the Tottenham connection? Because we've taken loads of managers who've managed you, right? And it's become not another Chelsea one for us. But that's because none of them have worked. You haven't gone down this approach since obviously you pointed Glenn Hoddle was a legendary player at Tottenham, but it was only his second job in management after Swindon, and he did fine. But is there I can see a narrative where people jump on it, particularly as the only thing he's won is in France with PSG, which you can't fail to win, where people jump on it and have doubts if he can take the team to the top level. No one's necessarily expecting it this year, specifically. But do you think that will lurk in the background? He was at Tottenham.
Probably. And that's one of the things that people had said, obviously, when he got appointed. Oh, he won nothing at Tottenham, as opposed to all those managers that won loads at Tottenham, obviously. It's like, I don't think that's really
it's a big list, isn't it?
You know what I mean? Like, we've had Mourinho's won the title, Conte's won the title, and they didn't win anything at Tottenham. So it doesn't actually mean anything, does it?
No, but to Chelsea Football Club, to relate that back, it does mean something to win things. Is that an expectation that we've become accustomed to over the last 2 decades?
That's right. And the fans have got to, and I think we're starting to, we've got to sort of manage our expectations on that now, which we spoke about last year when Potter came in. But it doesn't obviously mean that we just accept being mid-table. But we know the chances are we're definitely not going to be winning the league.
You're not going to tip you to do that this time, no?
I'm not going to. No.
I mean, technically, Gary, when you predicted last year that your final league position would start with a 1, you wasn't wrong.
There you go. Exactly. I was nearly right. Just a little bit to work on. No, I hope that the fans have realised that. At the moment, it sounds like we have, but it's different when you actually start going to the games. And then it also depends on if you're not going to be challenging, it depends on the reason why you're not challenging. Is it because you're losing stupid games? Is it because you're losing big games or whatever? Or is it because you're just getting unlucky and a couple of wins could have been draws or whatever? You might have a run where we might have get to, say, December and we might have only lost 4 games, but we've drawn a lot of games or something. You can go, okay, something is coming.
Yeah, I get that.
Or it might be you've lost at home to Liverpool, you've lost to Arsenal, you've lost to Tottenham. Then the fans are going to be, all right, need to show something.
There can't be any world where Chelsea season is not better than the last.
No.
So in a weird way, he's set up to succeed. Even not that Chelsea fans would be happy with it, but say you finish 6th or 7th this year, clearly that's much better than last year. And like I said, if you can see the implementation of the style and the progress coming through during the course of the season, where then this time next year you're at least going, I think we'll finish top 4.
Yeah.
It's progress. It's probably not what people want to hear, but your floor was so bad, mate. It's going to take a leveling to get it up.
We fell straight through our floor. Nobody said that our floor was that we had finished in the bottom half. Everyone would have said the 8th would have been the absolute minimum, and that would have been a disaster season. And then, obviously, what happened. I think you have to look at the profile of the squad, and particularly the age of the squad, and say that if we came 6th or 7th, we've done all right. Like, I know it's sort of still the minimum expectation, but it's something to build on. We've not got a lot of experience at all. It's like Thiago Silva's obviously massively experienced. He's old enough to be the dad of half of our squad now. And Enzo's got kids, so he's old enough to be their granddad. He's the only player that we've got that's over 30. Sterling's the second oldest player in our squad. And he's, 27, 28 or something like that? So the reality is there's going to be times that the inexperience is going to show. There's going to be games where we're going to be missing something. But as long as overall we're building towards something more positive, then that's what we have to accept.
Yeah, again, it can't be worse, mate. It literally cannot be.
No, I can't see how it can be.
No.
But then I couldn't see how it could be as bad as that last season.
No, but it can't be, though, especially on the second half of the season. Blimey, mate. It became laughable in the end.
And the funny thing is, I actually, up until about sort of maybe mid-March or something, Chelsea and Liverpool had almost the same season. It's just they had a really good end to the season, came 5th. We had a really bad end to the season, came 12th. So there could have still been something there that we could have done, something more respectable. We weren't going to come top 4 or anything like that. But as we've said before, when we played Aston Villa, 1st of April, Potter's last game, we were above them.
Yeah.
We were 10th, they were 11th.
We recorded before you drew with Everton, which was the game before. And we'd said, because you had the 3 home games in a row, didn't you, with Liverpool being the last. And you were like, we got no chance of top 4. Bear in mind, this is the middle to end of March. And that says, if you win these 3 home games, you're in contention, mate. Yeah. Admittedly, you took 2 points from it, so it was obviously off the table, and then it's fallen away horrendously from there. Okay, so expectations obviously up. Can't be any worse than last season.
Yeah.
Let's move into a little bit of FPL chat briefly before we do an overview of the squad, because we're recording Thursday morning. Last night you played Dortmund, and Christopher Nkunku was withdrawn 22 minutes in and seen obviously sitting on the bench with icing round his knee. All anyone wants to know, Gary, is he going to play in Game Week 1?
I don't know.
You ain't a doctor, I know.
No, I know. I did stay up to watch it as well. And I would said as soon as the game kicked off, the pitch was abysmal. I knew someone was going to get injured, and it happened to be him. The only thing that worries me with the injury is that he got the knock to his right knee, and it's his left knee that he's got the ice pack on, which suggests that it wasn't an impact injury.
Oh,
But there's also videos of him later on walking. It doesn't mean that he's fine, but it suggests that it's not that bad. Otherwise, they'd have done the precautionary on crutches and everything like that. Do I think he's going to play in Game Week 1? I don't know. We're going to have to just do the old watch the look at the pictures, see if he's in training.
I would suggest everyone calm down, because in the next few days to a week before we get there, we will find out. You've got another friendly left, haven't you, I think, Gary?
No.
Are you done?
Yeah. So there's the game for Ukraine, which isn't a Chelsea game.
But there's a few, like Mudrik's going to play in it and stuff, isn't it?
But it's not a Chelsea friendly. I don't even know if Pochettino's managing us for that. And then we don't have any other friendlies.
So you're done.
Pretty sure there'll be something behind closed doors, which would obviously make sense, because if it's the last game before your first game and you're doing whatever you're doing tactically, do it behind closed doors.
I suspect with it being pre-season and him being obviously high-profile new signing and so much expectancy with him, I don't think it's one of them that we're probably not going to know till Pochettino's press conference at 2:00 next Friday, for example, which would be horrendous if that's the case. But I'm pretty sure we'll get some indication next week, even if he's got a chance. What I mean is, if he's out, I think we'll know.
That's right. We've got 10 days. It's a long time. This isn't like the game isn't this Sunday. The game is next Sunday. So it's fine. Calm down.
Were you intending to start with him?
It will depend on the budget. I want to start with one of our forwards. It's whether I can afford him as opposed to Jackson.
He was absolutely, almost definitely going in for me.
I think he's going to be our top scorer this season.
And if he's past fit, he's going in. I've spoken about this a number of times. A really good experience with him in UCL fantasy, and I know his capabilities. And it almost seems with him, almost irrespective where he's going to play, he's going to get returns. It feels like an inevitability. He feels like a player. I can only tell you that my experience of owning him in UCL fantasy is you'd look at him in your team, you'd be like, bloody hell, they got Man City tonight. I bet he still gets one. He goes there and they get battered. And by the way, he got a hat trick on that particular night. But I suppose those experiences linger with you. I know people can Bundesliga tax and all that, but for every, no one ever mentions Haaland and Bundesliga tax, do they?
No, that's it. Yeah,
they do with the Timo Werners and stuff. So no, I'm very, very confident that he'll be a good fantasy asset. He's now just whether he's going to be available or not. And if it's a doubtful for game week 1, then it might be that I start without him. But if he gets the all clear, he's going in for me. Where will he play, Gary, as it stands? Because one interesting thing from this friendly last night as well is Pochettino appears to have said that that's his intended, and obviously he's entitled to change his mind, intended starting 11 against Liverpool, basically.
That's right. So I put a thing on the Slack where it said there were 8 players who were locked to play against Liverpool. And I think there's probably a 9th, which is Conor Gallagher. And Jackson's one of them. If Jackson plays, Jackson's going to play as the 9, and Nkunku's going to play off him in some way. Now, that's going to depend on the rest of the makeup of the front 4, but the 3 behind the centre forward. It looks like we're not going to play like a pure attacking 3 behind Jackson, which I agree with, particularly for a game like Liverpool, which would mean that Nkunku's probably going to play off the left. And he decides to play Mudryk off the left and Nkunku off the right, but we haven't really seen that. So he's most likely going to be behind and slightly left, but the way that Nicolas Jackson plays, he moves a lot. He runs the channels, so there's always that space, and Nkunku is always looking to get into that space. I've not seen him out wide at all. I've never seen him like hugging the touchline or anything like that. He's always looking to get in the box. So he's sort of like a supporting striker ostensibly coming in off the left, which is probably his best position.
Yeah, it feels like he's been tried in just about every forward position during this pre-season.
He has, and at the start, they did use him as the pure centre forward, and that was in the first 2 games, and we haven't seen it since. So it's been Jackson or Mason Burstow, who is not a threat to Nicolas Jackson. I know he did score last night, but he's not even that young, to be fair.
He's not even been priced up in FPL, is he?
No, and
might be now though. I haven't scored last night, I guess maybe.
Don't go there.
No. I hear you.
Well, just for everyone,
I'll go and get Breuer instead.
Well, this is the thing: that's who's going to be the backup. Breuer will be the backup when he's fit.
He's not fit though, is he?
No, he didn't go on the tour, which is good. That was what worried me because he got injured in December, and I'd heard it. I was expecting it as a cruciate ligament injury, so it should be like a good 8 months out or something like that. And then in the summer, they started saying, "Oh yeah, he's back and running." And I was like, "Don't rush him back." You've seen so many problems with that, particularly with that injury, where you get secondary issues if you bring them back too quickly. So he didn't go on the tour.
With that in mind, he'll probably stay at the club rather than go on loan.
I'm pretty sure he's going to stay at the club. Yeah,
I think he's one to keep an eye on, isn't he?
Yeah, unless there's truth in this Vlahovic rumor.
We'll get there in a bit, then, mate.
Yeah.
Where do you think Nkunku's best from what you've seen so far?
Based on how I think teams are going to set up against us, he's going to have to play as not the centre forward because teams don't play a high line against Chelsea. His acceleration is one of his biggest assets, but you don't get to use it as much.
You think Liverpool won't play a high line in Gameweek 1?
Not so much them, maybe. I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, they will.
I don't know how high. Not at Stamford Bridge. Well, maybe. They probably will.
I don't think Liverpool have a different setting, mate.
Yeah.
It's just default.
Yeah, no, fair enough. But even then, Nicolas Jackson creates a lot of space. So having him, even if Nkunku's starting slightly deeper, he's going to get into those positions. And there's been a lot of good link-up play between, well, actually Jackson and everybody. Nearly everybody.
So I think you're saying to me this might not be 4-2-3-1 then against Liverpool.
No, it will be, but one of the three will be a midfield player who's kind of somewhere in between the midfield and the sort of attacking midfield.
Yeah, I mean, that's not unfamiliar to Pochettino's Tottenham because Christian Eriksen, for the majority of his Tottenham career under Pochettino, generally probably played in a wide position rather than an actual 10, but he never stayed there. He went wherever he wanted to go, right?
That's it. So I'd still say it is a 4-2-3-1. Jackson's like the wide left of the three, but not at all wide. He doesn't play wide.
Say Jackson is the wide left.
Sorry.
Nkunku. Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, cool. If Nkunku's out, then the obvious solution would maybe be just start with Jackson. My biggest fear on that is I'm pretty confident that when Nkunku's back fit, I'm going to want to jump that. Now, if Nkunku, let's say, is not available till game week 3, then I can get why people have wanted to look at. People were looking at it when a Jesus to Nkunku game week 3 as an example. That's off the table. People may look at that now with Watkins. Villa's run throughout probably suggests that Watkins is probably a longer term hold, so it's a bit more awkward. So the solution might be we'll just go with Jackson. But
yeah, why don't you want Jackson?
My inkling right now is exactly what you said. Nkunku will outscore him despite where he plays. And you telling me Jackson's really good at running into channels and stuff doesn't make me feel better about, he's a blistering number 9 who's going to get me 15 or 20 goals. Like, I don't have that feeling about him. And I've not seen enough of him. So would your intention be, as it stands, if Nkunku was out, you go with Jackson? Or are you thinking about doing that either way anyway?
I'm thinking about doing that either way anyway.
Okay.
When I say that Jackson runs the channels, that's not all he does. He's actually shown so far in pre-season he's done everything. He's also scored goals where he's the one that's running in behind. He's been the one with his back to goal that's been laying it off for the sort of attacking midfielders, so to speak. He's also been running into the channels and creating the space. He's doing all the things that I actually want a centre forward to do, which is all the things that Aubameyang doesn't do.
Or Lukaku.
Yeah. Do we have to mention him?
Yeah.
But
we're going to again in a second.
I was going to try not to swear on this podcast. No, he's been really, really impressive in pre-season, Nicolas Jackson. Um, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to translate into FPL points. I agree. A lot of his like best work has been linking up with the other players. Um, Even in the move where Nkunku got injured, it was Jackson and Nkunku that were linking up together. Mudryk scored a nice goal, which was plays into Jackson, back to Mudryk, and that kind of thing. So he's doing a lot of the sort of donkey work and the link work as well. Whereas Nkunku's more like the dynamic getting into the box. He's more likely to be the one feeding off scraps, everything like that. Um, so he's the better asset, but it doesn't mean that Jackson's a bad asset.
There's also is Jackson going to be the number 9 when the transfer window shuts? Because you said you didn't want to mention him, but Romelu Lukaku is obviously causing you some problems. So Inter, I believe, have pulled out. Juventus want to go in, but sound like they can't really afford to buy him. And one of the suggestions has been some sort of swap deal involving Dusan Vlahovic.
Which is Juventus' suggestion, I should
Not
point
Chelsea's.
out. No, as far as every report that I've seen, because if it was Chelsea's, I think they'd go for it. I think it's Juventus who are trying to include him as part of the deal, which I'm guessing is because they're absolutely skint. They've been thrown out of Europe. But I think it would be a stupid idea personally.
Why?
I think we've shown so much promise with what we've got going forward, and I want to give Nicolas Jackson a proper chance, and he's going to have times where he goes hot, and probably he's going to have times when he goes cold, which is another reason that I think Pochettino is the perfect manager, because that's who you want. If your young striker is having like a bit of a tough time, you don't want Mourinho, Conte, Tuchel. You want a Pochettino.
Yeah, he's good for that.
This is it. It's like, all right, so you haven't scored in like 4 or 5 games, but you're doing this and doing this, keep doing this. This is what I want you to do. The goals will come. Don't worry about the goals, kind of thing. If we add another striker into the mix, it's almost like if that does happen to Jackson, then you're just going to play the other striker. Then it happens to him and you go back to just playing Jackson. We've got enough to work with, and Nkunku can play in that position. Broyer's still there.
What if it's bad for Nkunku though? What if suddenly assessed his knees out 2 to 3 months? Then what?
Well, we've still got enough. Like, we're not in Europe. We don't have a big fixture list.
No, true.
So I think there's enough to work with, and it's almost as if you'd already be buying a stopgap, even though he's quite young, Vlahovic, because everyone we buy is young. It's looked so harmonious between most of them. Why throw like another unknown into the mix? It's like it's looking good, and there might be times that we struggle, but personally, I'd rather persist with what we've got. I know that we've got all the attributes there to score more than we did last season. That's not hard, is it? But
well, yeah, again, yeah. Okay, interesting. I'm not sold on it yet. I mean, I can be sold on it with Jackson, but I'm not sold on it yet because, like I said, the biggest things I know Nkunku is the one I want, and he's going to be back available for game week 3. Then it might just be the case that I'm just going to punt someone for 2 weeks, and it's maybe not Jackson. Maybe I'm looking outside the box at something completely different and leaving money. Maybe. Okay. Lukaku, I presume, will go. There's no recovery here, is it? Where Nkunku's out for months and they go, let's reintegrate him, or there's no chances there.
I can't guarantee he'll go because we can't get rid of him, but I can guarantee that he won't play for Chelsea.
Just give one of your mates in Saudi Arabia a call, mate, and they'll take it.
We've tried that. No, he won't take that. That's what he's going to be. I said that about a month ago. That's what he'll be left with. He'll be left with the choice of staying at Chelsea or going to Saudi Arabia.
There's been links with Robert Sanchez.
Mm-hmm.
If he came in, is he going in goal or is he just understudy to Kepa?
Understudy to Kepa, I think.
Okay.
There's a split opinion on Kepa, and I'm in the Kepa's absolutely fine camp. Some people are in the Kepa's absolutely useless camp. Which camp are you in?
I am in somewhere in the middle. I think he's capable of. It's always the same with him. And he's capable of the brilliant. But once every month or so, you look at something, you think, I think you should have saved that.
Yeah, and that's still going to happen. But well, no, I think he's only had one season where he was really bad. That was the 1920 season. And that's ages ago. And obviously, he's not been our number one all that time. But we came top four that season, and we came top four the season before with him as our goalkeeper. So it's still achievable to get the top four with
Oh
Kepa
no,
in goal.
I don't think it's a problem.
No, neither
Like
do
it's,
I.
it's fine. It's reasonable. Particularly from a table team, mate. It's absolutely fine, mate.
This
Sorry,
is it.
I'm never going to
So
get to say this again, so I might as well do
it's
it now.
I
No,
thought
fine.
we
But I
might
just wanted
finish
to
it.
clarify. You think Kepa would stay in goal even if that signing happens?
He'd definitely start as the goalkeeper. It would be
His
it's his
shirt to
position
lose.
to, yeah, exactly.
Okay. Back four, we now think we know it, right? So touch wood
Mhm.
for you. Reece James is fit. Ben
Yep.
Chilwell's fit.
Hmm.
Thiago Silva essentially has to be fit. And Levi Colwill, he's going to play left-sided centre back, isn't
Yep. That's how we lined up yesterday. Pochettino had said that's what he wants to work on for the Liverpool game. It's the back four that makes the most sense. It almost picks itself.
So I saw people saying, and I don't know if it's true, so I apologise if it's wrong, that FPL review was recommending from game week 3 treble Chelsea defence. Thoughts on that?
Um, I wouldn't go treble Chelsea defence.
James, Chilwell, one more.
Which one?
Sounds fun though, doesn't it? Well, what's from McCullough?
So
4.5.
it's 4.5. The reason is because I don't trust defensive assets while we don't have a proper number six, so to speak, like a defensive screen. It's the big position that we're still missing. And obviously the Casado thing is still dragging on. Must be about time for Romano to tweet that talks are still continuing between Chelsea and Brighton.
It's
It's
24 hours between recording this and releasing it, Gary. So it'll be in
so
there,
there'll be
mate.
two more then. Um, it's like thing is like we've got a choice there. We just pay what they've want or we walk away. And we have now signed another guy, Ugo Chukwu, who plays that position.
Is he not midfielder? Isn't it the guy from Monaco's going to the centre back?
That's the centre back. I'm talking about the six.
Oh,
Sorry, the
sorry, I
one of the
misunderstood what you're
defense.
saying. Yeah.
So the reason that I'm not sure on our defense is because we don't have that defensive midfielder to screen the defense. I think there's going to be teams that expose us. Are Luton going to be one of them? Hopefully not, but other teams are going to.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Badiashile and Colwill though are going to compete for left-sided centre back. It looks like that'd be right.
That's right.
The latest I read is that they're targeting for Badiashile to be fit for game week 3.
Mm-hmm.
So if Colwill impresses enough in those first two, there's no reason to drag him out ahead of Luton at home and Nottingham Forest at home, right?
No.
So presumably, as long as he does all right, he'll stay in the team for a bit, and it also allows Badiashile to get himself up to speed and then be competitive. I would add the caveat from my own experience of first season at Tottenham is he can be loose in terms of doing random things. I remember we played a game at home with Stoke and he played like Fazio over Vertonghen and like you couldn't believe it. It's just because he wanted to do it. It's worth saying we also had European football as well though. So
Yeah.
you don't. So there's less reason to be conscious about minutes and stuff. Whereas your new guy coming in is going to compete with Silva, isn't he? For
That's right.
right-sided centre-back.
Yeah. I don't know how much he'll compete with him. He'll probably just play when Silva needs a rest.
So a
Silva's
lot of money,
39
mate.
next month. Oh, everything's a lot of money though these days, isn't it? Is it actually a lot of money in the current market, in the current terms?
To be honest, if you'd have said to me, Chelsea are buying a centre back, if someone's buying a centre back from Monaco for 45 million, I'd have known straight away it wasn't Tottenham because we wouldn't spend that sort of money.
Yeah.
And he's called Axel Dinzai and he's right-sided centre back. I'd have straight away that's Chelsea because Chelsea need it now with Wesley Fofana injured.
That's right, exactly. And then this is going to be Thiago Silva's last season. So then we'll have Fofana next season for 4 or 5 matches and then Desai for the other 33 that Fofana's not
touch wood. That's desperately unfortunate for Fofana, isn't it?
It is.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know. He's going to basically miss another season, having already missed a season 2 years ago at Leicester when he broke his leg.
So I presume now and is that confirmed, that deal with Desai?
I don't think it's official. I don't think we've had the tweet from Chelsea. I don't know if that's just one of those strange press release things, because obviously we've been in America, and if we weren't going to fly him out for whatever reason, Ugo Chukwu came out to America. He was on the bench last night. He didn't get on.
But hasn't Pochettino said that he's definitely going to go back out on loan?
No, he said he might go back out on loan. He
Okay,
said he doesn't know.
that's helpful,
He,
isn't it?
yeah,
My
he
more
kind of
link with
suggested.
this
He said
aside
like
was, I guess Trevor Chalobah could move somewhere else,
they want him to go.
or is he cover for Reece James? I presume that's Malagusto now, right?
Gusto's the cover for Reece James.
Yeah,
They want to sell Chalobah
I heard
as
you were
well.
asking for 50 million.
I don't know if we are.
Who's tripped up that price, mate? I mean, he's all right.
No, obviously he's not worth 50 million. But
No,
I don't know. I don't know if we are asking for 50 million.
because if he was, wouldn't you just keep him?
Well, it'd be better than Colwill because Colwill's only worth 30 million according to Brighton. So yeah, you'd keep.
Don't be digging out Brighton, mate. I don't know why you don't just buy the whole football club from them, mate.
Well, they might as well just come and move next to Chelsea because they're not in Brighton anyway. We're constantly talking to them. Just come and stay around the corner and we'll just have coffee every day or something like that.
Why don't you move there? It'd be easier for you to buy their players.
It's true. Yeah, our players would like to live by the seaside as well. Yeah, we'll do that.
He's Stone Beach. You ain't missing that much, mate. Okay, so we know back four. You're not keen on getting Colwill, though, no?
No, I don't like our sort of defensive makeup without that screen. But also, we've looked a lot better in attack this season as well. Like, do you really want to block yourself from having a Chelsea attacker for some of those fixtures?
So are you not going with James or Chilwell either?
I've got Chilwell at the moment.
Ooh, okay. So where's the preference? Because I share this preference on Chilwell at the moment as well.
One of the reasons is he took every single corner last night while he was on the pitch. Another thing is he's the one that's been getting into the box. James has been getting up the touchline a little bit, but Chilwell's looked far more of a goal threat. I can't really remember Reece having a shot other than from a free kick, whereas Chilwell, like he had one last night, he's generally just been a lot more involved
Are
in the
we
attacks.
are we likely to
Particularly,
get a different Reece James now? There's two reasons behind that. One is he's obviously his own reoccurring problems. Two, obviously, if you're definitely going with a back four, as it look, and Pochettino can play a back three, no doubt. But if it looks like you're almost definitely going a back four, you haven't used back three at all in the friendlies, have you?
no,
No.
no, we've only played
So
this
he's
one.
going to be a back four, and Silva doesn't want to get dragged down to fullback positions, right? And Silva's going to play inside of James.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that just makes me think he breaks on a bit more than what FPL managers want him to be.
that's right. And also, if it is Nkunku, and actually even if it's Mudryk, both of them have been cutting inside quite a lot, which gives Chilwell that
It's natural.
space. Yeah, to whereas if Sterling plays, and Sterling will be a bit wider on the right, which restricts James a little bit more. Those two can link up really well, by the way, but they don't have to as much. Whereas when Chilwell sees that gap, he goes for it, and I think he's been told to do that as well. He's
I,
actually the fittest player in the squad.
I'm. He's also had his own injury problems. I'm interested at the moment. At time recording, Ben Chilwell's in 9.5% of teams and Reece James in 15%. I wonder if between now and game week one that'll cross over. I've seen way more talk about Chilwell on the app formerly known as Twitter than Reece James at the moment. And I guess it's that.
Yeah, I think Chilwell's the better asset at the moment. Reece James is unofficially the captain. It hasn't technically been confirmed,
Well,
but
not Silva, no.
no,
Wouldn't that just be the easy thing to do at the moment? Give it another year.
maybe.
You'll probably need to sell Reece James this time last year for FFP purposes, no?
We've still got other young players that we can sell.
It's 100% in the books, Gary.
I know. We've got a conveyor belt. There's still players coming through. This isn't us done.
I know that we can talk about some of them in a sec, actually.
Yeah.
But you definitely Chilwell for you. Do you agree with people benching Chilwell in game week one? Because I'm seeing that. Just play him, surely, no?
I'd say just play him.
Yeah, mate.
Because you're not getting him just for his defensive capabilities. Because if you were,
I know what it is as well. People can afford it at the moment. So say I don't know, you're going with like a João Pedro as an example, right? They got Luton at home. I get it. Like if you think he's going to start, you definitely don't want to bench him. Of course not. And then it's like all the money's spare. Who's got the weakest fixture? It's Chilwell. So I do get it, but it also makes me a bit anxious for people because I just think if I'm going to go with him, I'll play him.
Yeah, it's like he's not quite the same asset as Marcus Alonso was, but he's along those lines. You don't want to be, if you're watching Chelsea Liverpool and we attack down the right and the ball comes in and Chilwell's there in space, you're thinking, why have I got him on the bench as he's getting like another attacking chance kind of thing. I'd just play him. Personally, I would just play him.
That run of fixtures after the Liverpool game, and let's not pretend that Liverpool don't have defensive issues themselves, and all, by the way, quite often on that right-hand side as well. West Ham, Luton at home, Forest at home, Bournemouth away, Villa at home, Fulham away, Burnley away, and then it's Arsenal, Brentford. But they are both at home as well, and then you go to Tottenham and it gets a bit tougher. Fine. After Tottenham, obviously. That game week 3, everybody's got it ranked. As in, I want multiple Chelsea at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, other than Chilwell, I think I agree with you. It's probably worth paying the extra, but if you can't, I actually think Colwill is very reasonable for a 4.5 defender. And Nkunku we favour, but we don't really know the injury status, so Jackson offers an alternative. If people want free, where in that midfield at the moment should it be if people don't want to go, say, double defensive?
I'm hoping, but we need to see a little bit more of this. I'm hoping it's Mudryk. I think
so. Mudryk, the one who he's good price, he's absolutely talented. I don't doubt that at all. But he didn't play against Dortmund. And Pochettino said this was the intended 11.
Well, he didn't start against Dortmund, but he came on, and that's his intended 11 for the Liverpool game that you're talking about for game week 3. Now, I don't think we're going to have to play one of our midfielders in the sort of 10. I don't think you have to play Carney Chukwuemeka in the 10. You could go for the Jackson up front, Mudryk, Nkunku, Sterling, or Maddison, or whatever you want to do for a game like Luton at home.
You still don't want to start with that, though. If we're looking now, people want to go treble Chelsea now.
Yeah, you don't want to start.
Mudryk feels a difficult one to start with at this minute.
Yeah, so I'll run through the 8 players that are locked in the team, and then
go for it.
They who decided assets. So there's Kepa, James, Thiago Silva, Colwill, Chilwell, Enzo Fernandez, Jackson, and Nkunku if he's fit, which leaves 3 more spaces.
Not Conor Gallagher.
So I didn't think he was locked. I think he's looking like he's probably going to be. But then he started in the defensive midfield position next to Enzo yesterday. Now, if for some reason Chelsea and Brighton come to some sort of agreement and we did sign Caicedo, then he's going to be the one that moves out.
That's
he's probably going to move further forward. But
I was going to say, he could play at 10, particularly if Nkunku was out as well.
That's right. But it means that you can't say that he's locked necessarily, whereas those other 8 are not going to be replaced. So really, if you're saying, I need someone who's going to definitely start, you have to choose from those 8. And then that includes people like Enzo, not an asset. Thiago Silva's not an asset. I wouldn't say Kepa's an asset.
Raheem Sterling is not one of them locked for you.
Raheem Sterling has been, I think, the biggest disappointment in our pre-season.
It was one of your biggest disappointments last season. There was a lot of them, mate.
But he wasn't there, actually, was he? In reality, he actually...
Wasn't he? It was meant to be the answer to your goal-scoring problems, is how a lot of us neutrals saw it, mate. A guarantee of a certain amount of goals if given minutes.
Right, but I don't think, personally, that was necessarily entirely his fault. And actually, he did score some goals for Chelsea. Not very many, but nobody scored very many, did they? I don't know who the top scorer was, because the last thing I'm going to do is start looking through stats from last season.
It's still Jorginho, is it? Like 4 penalties.
Yeah, but it's only Sterling or Havertz. So only 2 players scored more than 1 goal in the Premier League at Stamford Bridge.
Just staggering.
Which is Sterling and Havertz. So yeah, so joint on 1 is people like Broya.
And so
Mount,
one's gone, and the other one might not start.
Yeah,
I like that. So why is he disappointed in this particular period then?
It looks to me like everybody has spent pre-season trying to work together, except he is still on like his own sort of, I don't know, a different kind of wavelength. It's almost as if he's thinking, oh, well, at Man City, like, we used to do this and this. It's like, right, but you're not at Man City anymore. You need to play with the players that are around you. He almost looks like you can't really tell what he's trying to do sometimes. He's putting in crosses to absolutely nobody. And he'll then say, well, somebody should have been there. And we'll say, but they're not there. So don't put the cross in where somebody's not positioned, sort of thing. And he doesn't look like a goal threat either. Certainly not compared to Nkunku, Jackson, and even Mudryk. So, and also, Maatsen has been one of our best performers in pre-season. Now, obviously, he's very young, so it'd be quite a lot of pressure to put him in ahead of Sterling. But I've not really seen much from Sterling that makes me think, oh yeah, I'm excited by this guy this season. I think this is the season he's going to kick on, and he really needs to kick on. He needs to step up. As I said, he's the second most senior player certainly in our outfield squad. So the expectations are higher from him.
You think he'll step up? Just a yes or no?
No.
I agree. I think the best is gone.
Yeah, I think it probably has as well.
And I wouldn't be surprised if during the course of the season that Raheem Sterling he's overtaken by Madueke, as an example.
So we've not seen Madueke at all in pre-season. So you're right.
Why? Did he have a problem with the under-21s or?
So he was at that tournament, obviously, and then he did they said he had a slight injury.
Okay.
But he wasn't even on the bench last night. So there's absolutely no chance that he starts in game week 1. Absolutely zero.
But
if someone else is going to start there,
Maatsen is a possibility, yeah?
I hope so.
There was a lot of rage and I know what the rage is because he played left back for Burnley last year. I want him to be 4.5 defender. Okay, yeah, but he's clearly not going to start a left back unless Ben Chilwell is injured or further down the line in the season for rotation. In pre-season for Chelsea, he's played as a midfielder. It wouldn't have been much fun for everyone if suddenly we'd learn, Maatsen's playing right wing for Chelsea and he's a 4.5 defender. He ain't getting an advantage because everyone will have him. So
yeah, and they go, why do you want him to be a defender? Because then he'll be OOP. Right, well, that's why he's not a defender then, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually think, and I'm very critical of them with the pricing, I actually think they had to do that. And it probably will be one where he does end up playing left back for you later in the season and it looks a bit weird, but I think they probably had to take that decision, actually.
As things stand, he hasn't played left back for us and he's not the backup left back because Cucurella is still there.
Yeah, of course. So, I've forgotten about him, mate. There's a lot of players you've got that I've forgotten about.
Yeah.
Chukwuemeka, finally. Mm-hmm. I guess at the moment, there's a strong possibility he'll start. And he joins this cluster of potentially quite exciting 4.5 million midfielders who I'd like to punt one, but I'm not convinced he's going to start or not. And it sounds like from what you said, you think there's probably a strong chance that he starts game week 1, but that might quickly change afterwards.
Yeah, I can't imagine he's going to be in our sort of general 11. Like, he's obviously not going to be part of our sort of base sort of lineup. He's not going to form part of the core.
Why do you say that's obvious?
Because you don't need to. He's not like an attacking sort of 10. So why would we need to play a sort of more midfield-minded 10 with some of these fixtures?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
So his like sort of main strengths are more on the ball, kind of from a deeper position in midfield. Is that what we're going to need when we're playing against teams with this like low block, when you've already got players like Enzo and Conor Gallagher who are going to be further up the field? Why do you need another midfielder in that same sort of space?
My experiences of seeing him for England's younger teams, particularly the under-19s last summer, standout player in that team by a distance, good ball carrier. And he's not comparable in any way to Delhi. But if we'd have sat in that summer that Tottenham got Delhi from MK Dons, he was being spoken about as a central midfield player, someone who would be a youngster and probably wouldn't be involved much to start with. And hopefully by the end of the season, he might break through. And within about 3 months, he was in everybody's FPL team as an attacking midfielder.
It could happen. I think it's probably because I haven't seen it from him in pre-season, like anything that makes me think, oh, this is a good attacking asset, particularly from an FPL point of view. There's not a lot of, I haven't really seen him have many shots. There's not been chances created, anything like that. He's quite good as like a sort of link player. But do you need another one of them if you know that you're always going to have that much of the ball that far up the field in the first place? Would you not rather have an extra attacking player? With that said, it does also depend on like who we sign, because if we've got Reece and Chilwell, who are both very attacking as well. You've almost sort of formed the five with the two that are outside of the three that are behind the one. God, there's a lot of numbers here. So like Jackson, Nkunku, Sterling, and then Reece and Chilwell outside them. So maybe you don't need that sixth one, like the Mudryk, let's say, instead of Chukwuemeka. It could happen, but he's definitely not locked in our team.
No,
Conor Gallagher can play that position as well. They've
I
used
get that.
sort of Maatsen even in that sort of position as well.
Yeah, I think it makes him a difficult one to punt. And obviously, that unlike, say, with, let's say, Elliot Anderson as an example at the moment, Newcastle, it doesn't feel as likely that you're going to block yourself with three, particularly if you're starting with none. Whereas with Chelsea, with Chukwuemeka, there's a chance you're starting with, say, Nkunku and Chilwell as well. And if Chukwuemeka is wrong, then you need to move that somehow. And it could be quite awkward. I think it's worth saying as well, if you're getting a 4.5 mid, you're probably not starting him anyway. So it's not a particular drama on that. He's more the concern it'll block, which the more I've thought about it, the less bothered I am, because I don't actually see me being interested in any of them other Chelsea midfielders in terms of faith. Now, if Mudryk can show what I know he's capable of, then sure, we can go there in the future. But to just gamble him in game week 3, don't see it. No interest in Sterling. Gallagher would have to play at 10 to be interesting. Even if Maatsen does play right wing, I'm not going there. So if I was to have, say, Jackson and Chilwell, I'm looking at that currently and going, well, what would Chukwuemeka block me from? Just Mudryk. Decide that's my 3, for example.
But what if Mudryk now plays instead of Nkunku and impresses against Liverpool and against West Ham? And
yeah,
you're looking at Luton, Forest, and whatever, and then you're going, right, how do I get 2 more million to get from Chukwuemeka up to Mudryk?
And that's probably why Chukwuemeka, unfortunately, despite the fact, because people hear, oh my God, potentially playing as a 10 for Chelsea in game week 1, he's probably an avoid.
Yeah, and he's likely to be the first player that gets taken off when we're making subs. From what I've seen from Mudryk, he is like really shot hungry. Whatever he's trying to do on the ball is always with the end goal of him having a shot.
He'll be embraced by Pochettino to believe in himself.
Yeah.
Whereas he looked like he was shot for confidence. Nobody who watched that opening 20 minutes at Anfield when he came on can quite believe that he's not kicked on. Because I think for a lot of people watched that 20 minutes and went, I'm going to have to get this guy straight away. Yeah. However I do it. And let's be honest, that's been his best 20 minutes in a Chelsea shirt.
Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, it has. He was good at Leicester away as well, if I want to give him another performance that he was. No, and he was good.
That was his only attacking return was that day, wasn't it?
Well, the funny thing was, when he played Leicester, he hadn't played for a month, and I don't know why. Potter just hadn't put him in the side. I think the previous game he'd played, he might have started at Dortmund. I can't remember. But he wasn't. It wasn't actually that he was playing badly. He just wasn't playing. Potter hadn't found a way to fit him into the side. He joined mid-season for us, but in pre-season from Shakhtar. So his fitness wasn't there. He's joining a team that's an absolute mess, that's got no tactical idea and a coach that's fighting for his life. And then obviously there's the issues going on in his home country. There's a lot of sort of influences as to why it didn't happen for him last season. And hopefully a few of them have been sorted out. And I think he's looked good in pre-season. I think he's been one of our better performers in pre-season.
Okay. Let's do some quick fire before we finish. If something would happen to Reece James in the next week, and let's be honest, unfortunately, it's Reece James, you start with Gusto.
Depending on what it is that's happened to Reece James. If it's, he's out for 2 or 3 weeks, then there's no point because Reece James is going to come back in. But Gusto is the backup for Reece James. Yes.
Okay. So he would play at 4.0. It's the sort of one, if it develops, it's going to be interesting quite quickly, I think. Yeah.
But also, let's say, because some people have come up with the thing, why don't you pick both? Don't pick both. It's a stupid idea, in my opinion.
What can you tell me about Andre Santos? I don't know a lot about him, mate. But is he essentially first choice cover in central midfield at the moment? Is that where it's at?
He's the one that I had thought would probably play alongside Enzo. So he's the Brazilian under-20 captain, to give you some background on him. Yeah, he sort of plays a little bit more as a defensive-minded midfielder, but I wouldn't really call him a defensive midfielder. He's almost, in that regard, similar to Enzo. So you just put an Enzo with another Enzo, which probably isn't really what you want. I think he's the next in line as the 6, but then that also depends if Chukwu is going to actually play or go on loan, and if we're going to sign another one. But he didn't play last night, so you can't.
You look thin in that area, Gary, in central midfield. And it's not to say that he won't be very good. He might be, but suddenly you look really thin in the central midfield area.
That's right. And then if we did sign somebody like Caicedo, you'd go, well, Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, and we're not playing in Europe.
Absolutely.
You look really strong. Not to say that Caicedo would definitely be a success if he came. I mean, Basuma hasn't been a success at Tottenham. Cucurella hasn't been a success, and he came from Brighton. It's not a guarantee.
No, you buy someone you'd maybe put Trossard in that category so far as well.
Well, luckily for you, I've asked you a question about this for the Q&A on Monday, so you can answer it then. Oh, just about how good actually assets from Brighton and Brentford are at teams other than Brighton and Brentford. Are they signing genuinely good players, or are they signing players that fit really well in their system and not as well in another system?
I'll think about that. Okay, mate. Yeah. Maybe I'll ask Sam on Saturday. Gary, good stuff. I think it's clear as well in closing as well. There's going to be some business between now and the window closing, isn't there? Probably particularly in that. If you don't get Caicedo, it's going to be someone else, isn't it? Basically.
But that might. Well, it depends if they see Chukwu as the someone else, or if they're happy to roll with Gallagher and Andre Santos.
Chukwuemeka can definitely play in the role as well. Might be tough, but he can do it.
That's right. But again, it's like he's not someone that you'd want to put next to Enzo. The best thing that we can do is play someone that frees up Enzo. Because Enzo's really creative, really energetic, everything like that. We need to get the best out of him. He's our best player in central midfield. Even if we sign Caicedo, Enzo's the one that you want to be on the ball.
Is he just quickly? Because in Sky, he's going to be popular. You play Sky, don't you?
I've stopped due to time reasons. But I understand the game, so far away.
I mean, he's going to be a good asset in Sky, surely.
I'd have thought so. So I wasn't playing towards the end of last season, but I'm assuming that he got passing tiers quite a lot because he always wants
tiers every now and again as well.
Okay, yeah, because he always wants the ball. Like
it goes through him. But what I'm saying is, if a Caicedo come in and he gets a bit more advanced, that makes him a little less attractive, right?
But then he'll start getting the shot tiers. I don't know if he will. His shooting's not amazing. No, his shooting's not great, but he was breaking forward a fair bit yesterday. Conor Gallagher was sitting a bit deeper and Enzo was the one getting into the box. I just don't think he's that good in the box. You want to keep him around the box, outside the box, creating.
Right, where we finish?
4th. I'm hoping that there's teams...
Just let you follow up your own statement, mate.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm hoping there's a couple of teams that overperformed last season who are going to perform less well this season, particularly now that they're in the Champions League.
Okay. You talking about the joint ownership thing you have with Newcastle, yeah? Is that what you're... Yeah.
Remember, I told you about that last September and nobody cared because nobody realised that Newcastle were any good. And now suddenly Newcastle get in the Champions League and it blows up and it's the big story.
I've researched it and there's probably not a lot in it. How many of the correspondents then do you think went top 4?
Chelsea. I know there's one.
Which is you.
I can't imagine there's any others, to be honest. I reckon it's nobody else.
2 more.
Okay, good.
10 think you'll finish 5th, which it's worth saying 5th could very well be enough for Champions League. So that suggests that across the board, people think there'll be, I guess it's what everyone thinks. It can't be no worse. And the expectation is Chelsea should be in there. No European football. It's possibly a little bit of the lingering of the Conte season and that can't be repeated, I don't think. But he came in, no European football, and he found a system and it worked, and he won 14 games in a row and you won the league, right?
Yeah.
I don't think this group isn't squad strong enough yet, as you already said, to actually think first. Can you finish top 4 or top
Well, so
5?
sorry. So in the Conte season,
Definitely.
you looked at that squad and thought, well, Victor Moses and Marcus Alonso, they're clearly going to dominate at wing back, and Chelsea are going to win the league. Sometimes it
Um,
comes out of nowhere. Look, no, they're
yeah,
not going to win
yeah,
the
I
league.
get that, but
Just saying, sometimes you can get the best out of players,
it
but
also helps
we haven't
that
seen.
you played 12 players every week, which was a massive advantage.
Well, yeah, and now he's absolutely finished, and there weren't any clubs in for him as far. Kante is obviously who we're talking about.
Yeah, of course, that's what we're talking about.
But
Yeah.
people that, yeah, I don't think any clubs actually came in for him in the end. I think he only got one offer, quite a big offer. But I think,
That's an understatement on 1.7 million a week.
yeah.
I've
Sorry, what
got
was your
you.
question? Did
What
you
was the
ask a question
question?
in that? Yeah, something
What?
about fourth and fifth. I don't know. Did you ask a question?
No, 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 no. I was going to say, like, you're absolutely capable of finishing now, no doubt about it. There's
Mhm.
nowhere to sit in now and go, Chelsea can't finish top 4, not at all. However, to flip what you said in terms of one or two might have a dip, and they might, it's just getting so fierce now with Villa and Brighton in there. I currently got you for 8th, but I
Yeah.
also think that's a little bit like what I said when I said about Tottenham 9th. I think that's like worst case scenario probably for both. I'm just quite high on Villa's prospects, and I don't think Brighton or Newcastle are going to have a big dip.
I never said anything about Brighton.
No, I know that.
No, I said I'm thinking Arsenal. But
Man, this is the theme of Correspondent Week. Everyone's digging out Arsenal. Go on, tell me you think Arsenal won't finish in the top 4. Go on, make my day.
if you looked at where I put them,
Yes.
fifth. Yeah. What I'm hoping. This is what I'm hoping as opposed to what I'm expecting. But Arteta's now got a bigger squad to manage and with a lot more games, and I don't think it's going to be as easy. And whereas last season they got a lot of momentum going and they were just riding on this, particularly in the first half of the season, they were just carrying on like game by game kind of thing. They're coming to like Stamford Bridge full of confidence, everything like this. They didn't really have to change the team too much, and now suddenly he's got to keep a lot more players happy. They've got a lot more games. He is going to have to change the team a bit more. And also, it might be that we get to sort of March or something, and they're actually got half a chance of doing something good in the Champions League and not so much in the Premier League, and they might sort of focus a little bit more on that. I don't know.
Is there anything else you want to plug, bar the demise of Arsenal, before we let you go?
Just the hole in central midfield next to Enzo Fernandez.
What you should do is go and get a few players back from Arsenal, like Jorginho and Havertz, mate. You might feel a bit more squad depth.
No, although I just should say with something just to finish, right? So we won the Champions League 2 years ago, and we've sold pretty much everybody that was in that team.
It's staggering, mate.
So there's only 3 players that started that are still there, which is James, Thiago Silva, and Chilwell. There's
Yeah,
only 2 players who are on the bench that are still there, and one of them is Ziyech,
yeah.
and the other one is Kepa, and everybody else has gone. So this ownership have almost decided that that group of players was the problem, and actually they might be right because we haven't come anywhere near the top of the league for 6 years. We haven't finished within 19 points of the top team since we last won the title in 16-17. So the fact that we've had this complete overhaul and this complete reset, I actually think is quite a good thing because players that you've just mentioned, Jorginho and Havertz, were quite good for us in Europe, but they never quite did it in the Premier League. And that's why I'm a lot more excited now
It
than I was
remains
this
to be
time.
seen, though, if this group will. 'Cause one of the reasons I say 8th is I genuinely think the likes of Villa and Brighton have much better depth than you at the moment. Much better in terms of squad depth, despite the fact it feels like you bought 50 players in the last 7 to 8 months. You look the weakest squad. Put an 11 together, particularly if you put Casado in there, capable of beating anyone. But in terms of squad depth, these kids have got to step up, and they may well do, and you've got the right manager for that. But otherwise, at the moment, you look the weakest for depth.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I can't argue with that. I just hope you're wrong.
I hope I'm right, but I also hope you're right about Arsenal, and I don't think you will be. Gary, pleasure, mate. Go on, plug something.
No, because I don't. The only thing I want to plug is what you told Tom not to plug, which is the Slack. Like, just come and join Slack. It's we've got quite an active group. The Chelsea channel is really active in Slack. There's a lot of us who have sort of different opinions, but we all actually just want the best for Chelsea rather than trying to plug ourselves like you get on the former Bird app. So if you want to just come and talk about Chelsea, particularly if you're more into football than you are into FPL, then come and join the Slack.
All right. Well sold, mate. Patreon links in the bio. Lots of love. Who's on next for me? Burnley, Jack Toner. He would like a 5.5 million midfielder from Chelsea, but I don't think he's going to get one. Does that mean there's a 4.0 starting left back at Burnley to go with a 4.0 starting centre back? We'll find out. They got a tough start as well, but I think we're all quite excited to watch them. So it's Burnley with Jack Toner up next on Correspondent Week. This season, Miss O. Thanks very much, Gary. Good luck this season, pal. Cue music, please, man. Sharp.